Hey, Denny, I'm gonna go get Facebook Live started. I can't hear you.
Bring your tissue in case you have to cry about it.
You don't launch at 5 minutes before, do you?
No, it takes me a couple minutes to get on there.
Yeah, see if you, because I think if it gets awkward there for a while, if you, yeah, whatever you need to do, just as close to the top of the hour to get it on is better. So I can just go back to, right.
Okay. Oh, somebody chatted. Let's see. Hang on. Kevin said good afternoon to East Coast and good morning to Alaska and West Coast.
You'll have to help me, let me share too, share the screen, Sonny. We're on Facebook Live. This is Danny Grimes, actually in our Alaska house, which we see in the background. We always have the Christmas tree up because we're generally here in the summer and Christmas. So why take it down, right? We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. Yes, Matt. Yes, Matt. You know, my wife's efficient. She's not going to take it down, only to put it back up again.
Yeah, I should have waited for you to explain that. I probably assumed that you were going to talk about that in the background. I didn't know if it was a tree with just lights or if it was actual Christmas tree.
Yeah, we're not like early birds. I'm sure there's some people out the stores out there probably have Christmas decorations all ready to go.
Absolutely. I've seen them.
Sonny, will you allow me to be host or something so I can do the when you're ready? I don't need it right this second, just when you're ready so I can put the slides up.
Okay, Denny, try now to see if it'll let you share your screen.
Okay. We'll probably stop other computers' sound share, so. Okay, I can do it. Thank you. Well, I got top of the hour. I got 9 o'clock Alaska time. Hello, you guys, and hello in the East. I guess it's getting a lot closer to happy hour. Here it's just past breakfast. So today, thanks for being on the call. Some people I'm sure will be logging on, and plus the Facebook Live group. We've got some things that I'm going to share, the things that have been on my mind so far this week. However, I'm more concerned with what's on your mind and what's been going on with you. Let's cover that first. So those on the call that have anything going on, like to share, go ahead and speak up, or go ahead and type something in your chat box and we'll get on it. I'll give you just a minute to kind of express your feelings, and let's cover your agenda first. Nobody chatting, nobody talking. Well, while you do that, then I'm going to show you something. I don't want that. Don't want that. That. Okay, so you guys get warmed up. Let me share a couple things that are on my mind. One, the market of the moment. The more I've been talking to people and seeing what's happening, in the market and experiencing ourselves from our team, I just finished getting our report from our team in Florida. I don't have a huge team. They're pretty sharp though. I think we sold a house a day, so we had 31 transactions went pending, and I think we took about 20 listings. I think 13 got processed, 7 in the pipeline. So that's a pretty good August for us, and maybe even close to like top of the market. And that's a long way from what we saw in April and May. And the market's clicking along, no sign of it slowing. In fact, if anything, I think it's picking up. And so my experience tells me, and I heard this a long time ago, that when your car starts running the best, the engine, whatever it happens to be, some motor starts running the best, that's usually before something breaks. Now, to me, that could be just a bad programming and the half-empty mindset. However, I'm just, when you contrast what's going on in the marketplace and you flip over to a news channel and you see what's going on in the country, it's a little bit incongruent. And I'm going to share some slides with you that you've seen before. Most of these slides right here that I'm going through, I've asked my assistant to go ahead and make them a PDF and post it to the Denny Grimes Mastermind site. So you can have all the different slides of the scripts we've gone over really since the beginning, the formalized scripts. I just want to talk to you a little bit about the market of the moment. In fact, we're in the greatest market, the greatest of all times, the greatest real estate market of all times. And I want you to be armed with the fact that I think, another way that I say this, I think our market right now has all the good and really none of the bad. I've lived through the bubble market, bubble forming markets where you have, you have builders building a lot of spec inventory. You have, people buying back then in 2005, buying, more than one house, and they were all going to be speccing it. The market right now, very low inventory, and you can't have a bubble without excess inventory. And basically users are driving the market, not speculators. And our prices, aren't crazy yet. They might get crazy if it keeps going on. So, we have really all the good and none of the bad, and it can't go on forever. So here's a couple slides that I've used that I've started to post, and you might be able to use these in your marketing. I like this and I just posted this and asked the question, what does this mean to you? And the whole purpose of this slide originally was, of course, now is the time to make hay. And I think because I'm visual, I'm always looking for ways to get across the message in an intriguing, interesting way. And I also sent this to the Bold coaches because we're getting ready to go out and launch Bold October. Yes, it will be online, streaming like it was before. And October Bold is always the most popular because people want to get kind of jazzed up to finish the year strong and get ready to go into the new year, which will be a really, really important time this year because, you know, who knows what happens with the election and what goes on. So now is definitely the time to make hay. And the message to my fellow coaches was that now is the time to help the people that we have influence over, the ones we're coaching, the ones on this call, is if you've not engaged fully yet, now's the time for you to engage, okay? Because this movie will end. And I hate to be like a Debbie or a Denny Downer. I'm just saying it has to end at some time or slow down. So that's one of the slides I used, and I can make this available to you if
Denny?
you want to use. Yeah,
Can't see the slide. It's not showing up.
it's not. All right, hang on a minute.
It just shows very well.
Hang on, thank you for saying that. Maybe this is it.
There it is.
Does that make sense?
Looks
Can you
good.
see it now?
Looks good.
Well, if you ever see me on this Zoom call and I've got like a piece of lettuce between my two front teeth, don't wait 10 minutes before you let me know. Just tell me right off the bat and I'll deal with it. So glad you can see it now. Does the slide and my narrative now make sense? Could you use that? Could you use that in the social post, you guys? And add in the caption, maybe this is something you could use to attract sellers to you. I don't know. I kind of like it. I meant, you know, you can change the caption of it. Although I think I just wanted to share it with you because this is what's on my mind right now is how can I help you understand the urgency to a point where you can help your clients understand the urgency. Know what I mean, Vern? So if you'd like that slide, I can certainly make it available to you in an editable format where you can just change now's the time to whatever you want to put in it. This one came out organically when I was coaching a group in Miami. And I was actually role playing with someone and the seller was kind of like on the fence, didn't want to lower the price, et cetera, et cetera. And in this great market, they wanted more than the market could bear. And I'm always looking for ways, as you know, how can I get across the point? How can I make people understand? And I spent a lot of time, and what I said was, okay, you guys, have you ever been on a roller coaster? And you know, when you hop on one, you start to go up the hill. It always begins with going up the hill, and you hear the click, 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 click. And I happen to say, can you hear the clicks? And like 3 or 4 people in the class, and I was just like, you know, I was just, what do you call that, jamming. I never said this before, and people kind of really dug that. And so I thought, well, that maybe hit home. Maybe we can make a graphic out of it. And I spent a lot of time, you guys, looking for the right roller coaster, meaning some of them, bucket list for me, guys, winning the lottery or whatever. If I had nothing but time and money, I would ride every major coaster there is in the world. I just love coasters. And my wife would probably stay home and never ride any of them. However, I like the thrill. However, the modern ones are like almost straight up. And I didn't want to give the picture that that's what we're doing. Our market is going straight up, because it's really not. It's rational and it's really moving fast. So I got a modest hill. And what's interesting, and I wrote a narrative and I just posted this on one of the socials. And this would be a great question to ask sellers. Can you hear the clicks? Because as you know, when you get on the roller coaster, what happens when you can't hear the clicks anymore?
You're about to drop.
You're at the top and ready to start to go down. And so it helps them understand that, you know, at every point, there's going to be a little bit of a downturn. And I'm not saying crash, you know, however, here's the thing. I'm doing my best to help you get, I'm doing my best so you do your best. You get into urgency to make sure you don't leave any clients left behind, kind of like a Marine thing. Don't leave any clients left behind. And so if you like that graphic, groovy. If not, I'm not really worried about it. I'm just sharing with you ways that I'm attempting to get the message out to my team and other people. How can you make the phone ring? Because right now, I do not believe This is probably, other than COVID, we can make care and concern calls with about 99% rejection free. I think right now you've got a message, and we were role playing this with our team today. You know, kind of like having an epiphany where, in fact, I'm going to show you something else here. We're just now experimenting with. I trust you can see it. Is that there were some older scripts that we were working on that then we just, you know, kind of evolved into, say, why are we using the older scripts? What is the excitement in the market right now? And so we just started role playing, doing calls around maybe a home that we just sold, and say, hey, you know, hey, this is Denny Grimes, Keller Williams. And I'm just calling really quick to let you know, we sold the house around the corner from you. And you know, that house sold. We had multiple offers on it and sold for over asking price. And I'm curious, do you know of anybody that maybe is thinking about selling that would like to sell in a jackpot market? And it just kind of popped out. And so we have, I don't know if this will play or not, let's just see here. And I sent to my assistants, and what kind of post could we make that we might be able to get that point across? Let's see. I don't know if you can hear the music. I'm going to see if I can't get some slot machine music. 7 reasons, again, 777, sold sign, generic, then there's a billboard. I'm tweaking it a little bit. Anyway, these are the things I'm playing with. I'll make them available to you if you think it might be helpful. The bottom line is, you guys, the market is now. So I'm going to stop that for a moment and let's just see who's here. And what do you have on what are your thoughts on that? Any good, bad, or the ugly?
Danny, I'm just curious, where do you share most of your, the slides that you have? Where do you post those up most often to get to your buyers and sellers?
Well, I'm kind of a backward little cuss when it comes to that. I mean, I use the old-fashioned Facebook, and you know, I have an Instagram account with training wheels on it, so I'm not really good at that. And if there's anything I should be doing that I'm not doing, I'm all ears. I only think of Facebook. Should I be doing something else?
No, I just was curious. You usually have such good, you know, techniques on what you produce. So I just wondered where you used it most often, or where you got your best results. So that's good.
Well, yes, and again, I'm encouraging my team to, because I've got a lot of younger people in my team that have a lot more social media prowess than I do. Is I'm looking for ways to be creative and get out the message, because I really think I think I just have a feeling in my bones, guys. I have no really idea that this was a marathon market, we're inside the stadium, and that means we got a lap to go. And I don't know, I'm not being prophetic. I'm just saying, hey, listen, if it's all you can eat shrimp right now, I'm just going to fill up my plate before the all you can eat is over with. So
when you put it on Facebook, do you, and I'm not clear on this, but are you able to post that kind of thing? I know you post it on your pages. Are you able to post something like that in the Facebook marketplace in your area?
Well, I don't know about that, Matt. I know that we've been running ads. I can boost the ad. I can boost the post.
Yeah, I understand that, but then there's marketplace as well, where people put up their houses for sale, all kinds of stuff. But you might be able, and that might be worth looking into, whether or not you can put a call out on the marketplace for people who are selling.
Got it. All right. Well, any other comments on do y'all like the roller coaster, or they making hay? Anyway, I liked it.
Don't wait for the clicks to stop before you sell your house.
Yeah. You know, the market's really clicking, right? All right. So real quick, I'm going to show you what I have on the site. So if you want a collection, you've heard this before. I've got these slides posted on the Denny Grimes Mastermind. So number one, I want you, if you don't have if you haven't been on the calls before, you don't have the outline of the shadow sellers, I have that. And I also then have these scripts. These are the scripts our team's going to start working on now. I know there's been somebody, I don't see David on the call. I shared this last week. He used one of these, that one right there, that script right there, should be seller, I think, and listed a $1.2 million home. Somebody on Kristen's team, I understand, used the script as well, and asked the seller if he'd be interested in selling now. He said, sure, if I could get $1 million. And the agent said, well, if I can show you how if that is possible or not, would you be interested? So he got the appointment. And I just heard yesterday he listed it for 1.2 million, 1.25 or 2.26 or something like that. Here's the thing. These scripts are working because of basically the environment that's out there. And I don't think there's going to be any rejection. You're taking the message to the seller. So these 5 scripts are there, or 4, I think, maybe there's 4 or 5. Could be's, the used to be's, the just might be, and of course the overpriced seller. So those scripts are available if you want them, and they're downloadable. Then, of course, the meat thermometer, which you hear over and over again. There it is. And then this is I've cleaned up the narrative of the buyer and seller 1 to 10 qualifying script. And again, you can read these scripts yourself. We can do a role play and use them. This is one of the scripts I want our team to kind of have mastered. They're not there yet. However, the important question on the 1 to 10, what would it take to get you to a 10? And there you start to unload before you unpack. Same for
Denny,
seller. Yeah.
Apologize. You got the screens flipped. In other words, the screen your share screen is much smaller than, and you're, so I don't know what happened, but you can't hardly read some of them.
That is crazy.
So try resharing the screen again.
Man, this has been kind of a mess.
Sorry about that.
No, oh my gosh. Like I said, I forgot the green stuff.
All right, there it is. Now, if you want to go back through those scripts again.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you see it okay?
That looks great.
All right, so here we go. There's the should be's. And, again, I'm going fast because I've covered these before. I'm happy to slow down if you want to role play any of these or read them, or you want to take a picture of them so you have them now. Just let me know. The should be's, these are the care and concern scripts, and the only thing that's different in all these scripts is what is in yellow. So those are the sellers that should be on the market. Those are the sellers that could be on the market. That's really the sellers that you would look forward. They may be thinking about selling in 6, 8, or 12 months. Why don't they move forward? Why don't you sell your house now? I even used this story, you guys, a metaphor that seemed to go pretty good with the group in Miami. And sometimes I just come up with things, and other people give me ideas and on what they're saying too, is that you had a seller that really wasn't really motivated to sell. And they were, they said, no, the kids really don't want to move, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. Then I told a story. I said, well, let me ask you, I don't know exactly if you're into history or not. However, you do remember the Titanic, right? So let's just have a little story. Imagine that you're on the Titanic and someone were to come up to you and say, and hey, look, I don't think it's a good idea for you to be on the Titanic on this particular voyage. Why don't you do yourself a favor and get off the Titanic? Now, knowing what you know right now, if that were you, what would you do? And, people can kind of get into it. I mean, how many people at one point in time in that ship wish they weren't on it? And isn't that what sellers are doing now? I mean, basically, they have the opportunity to get out of the market. I know I'm switching metaphors, to get off this little roller coaster before the clicking stops. Will they be glad they did? And what's interesting about the roller coaster, you guys, is when the clicking stops, there's nothing you can do to stop what will happen next. It's too late. Buyers, if you notice and watch them really close, buyers out there shopping right now are carrying this big thing on their back. You can't see it, however, it's there. It's called a lawn chair. They're waiting for that clicking to stop. And as soon as that clicking stops, the buyers are going to pull out that lawn chair and sit down. And they're going to enjoy the ride. And if you want to see a market go to crickets, it's when buyers are watching. Now the Groundhog Day is in reverse. Every day they get up, and Sonny and Cher singing, "I got you, babe." The homes on the market are worth less. We have totally lost the urgency of the market. There is no market momentum when the market is falling. You realize that. It's only when it hits bottom and starts climbing again. So we need to make hay while this market is climbing, because when it starts falling, it goes to crickets. That's worth writing down and taking to the bank. Been there, done that, and lost my shirt to prove it. So there's the used to be seller, the might be seller. This could be a very big category. These are the people that may not want their vacation home anymore. They may not want their investment properties anymore. I've shared that my wife has been selling some of hers. Christy, I know from the team, is working with other clients that are selling their investment properties at the tippy top of the market and going to cash. Overpriced seller, you know, the fishing sheet's already there. I don't have that. Okay, so here's the meat thermometer. This is, you can just print these out and have them available, and you can study them. They're cleaned up 1 to 10. So this is, I'm just going over this fast because I gave it to you already for buyer, and then 1 to 10 for seller. Ones we haven't practiced in probably 6 or 8 weeks, I don't want you to forget about, is the side effect script. And this is basically, you know, hey, Mr. Seller or buyer, if your doctor prescribed a new medication, would you want to hear about the potential side effects before you took the medicine? And of course, so most people say yes. And so then you go through the side effects. You know, how would it affect their motivation if they wait? Timing is an issue. The 3 timing advantages for sellers: better pricing, serious buyers looking, fewer sellers selling, interest rates. This is how you talk sellers off the fence. Disadvantages for sellers, etc. So all the scripts are there. Then last week we did something that was kind of new, and I think this is the first time I put it into a slide that you could have it. And this is a very complex, right to the heart question that I think if you ask it in such a way, it'll really make them think. And this is really designed for buyers, and which is the greater pain: making an offer just less than you're willing to pay for this home and losing it, or making an offer much greater than the next highest offer and buying the home. So that's a conversation you have with buyers in this market of the moment, multiple offer market. And of course, the strategy that we talked about last week, I put into a slide of how you go through and then have them basically select the price. You don't select the price, they do. Offer versus own, asking prices, starting line, sealed bid auction. They come up with their number. What if you lost it by $500? How would you feel? You get to the point where they say, well, that's the best I could do. And if they won the bid, and then they find out it sold, their bid was $5,000 above the next highest bid, how would they feel? And when you can go through that formula, and either way they get it or they don't get it, you're going to be held blameless. One thing that came up in a conversation too that I was having with Christy, and I think Christy or her team's on the phone about this escalation clause. Something I never thought about, you guys, is that what if you have a multiple offer situation and you have more than one escalation clause? It gets a little complicated, doesn't it? And also on the escalation clause, they're all worded differently. And so I don't know if you guys are using them or you guys are receiving them, but here's the thing. I'll go $500 over the next best offer. All right, so in their market here, the sellers are asking, or the buyers are asking for closing costs and things like that. So are you talking about the offer price, $500 over, or $500 over the net to the seller? See, these issues I never even thought about before, so I'm only sharing them with you in case you haven't seen them before. Are you guys having any experience, good, bad, or ugly, with the escalation clause? Because the more people I talk to in the contemporary market, not in the market of old, are not really for escalation clauses. What's your guys' input?
So I had a recent listing that went live. We had over 30 showings in less than 48 hours, had received 13 offers. Half of them had escalation clauses, and those escalation clauses had a top out number up to. So they would go 500 above whatever the next highest offer is, up to a fixed price. And that's generally, you can, when they go to a fixed price, then you can figure everything out, but then they require proof of the next highest offer.
So how did you navigate that?
Well, It's actually kind of easy. At some point, so as far as this particular property is concerned, there were some of the contingencies were kind of all over the place. They weren't too difficult. The issue was laying them all out side by side to show advantages and disadvantages of each offer, so that it was the lesser of all contingencies. In other words, the least amount of hassle. And we tried to boil it down to that, and it came down to three properties. And one was it was pretty excruciatingly painful going through all of them, because I had to write out all the 13 bullet point sheets highlighting all the contingencies.
All right, hang on a minute, Matt. Let me just ask you, wouldn't it have been easier, wouldn't it have been better if somebody just came in without the escalation with, I guess my point is this. I understand the logistics you're talking about. It gave me a headache just listening to it. If somebody just came in with an offer and at their top dollar instead of the escalation clause.
Well, that's kind of what my process is as far as the negotiation is ultimately what we want to do is go to call an agent, one of those three agents, say, look, let's remove the escalation and go to your top dollar right away, so we don't have to worry about the hassle of this stuff.
So, okay, yes. And did they do that?
They chose one of the three that had a fixed price without an escalation because it was easier to work with.
Anybody else having, I mean, here's the thing. I really encourage you not to use them. However, this is probably what I would do. I would go to I would obviously have to sort through all the crap. And let's say I wouldn't even go, I don't even know, how do you prove that you have to go $500 over the next one? This is what I would do. Hey, Matt, just want to let you know that your offer, we're countering yours first. The property is listed for $340,000. You had an escalation clause that you would go 500 over, up to $350,000. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah.
All right. So my seller has agreed, has made a decision to counter yours first at $350,000. All the other terms are the same. You want it or not?
Well, what's the next highest offer?
I can't go into that. However, if you're not going to take it, we're going to work our way down the list. First one at 350 buys it.
Okay. Well, let me call my buyers.
Right. You see what I'm doing? I as a listing agent would negate that. I would go right up to what they're limit to do, the highest one. And does it really? And I would say, I wouldn't lie about it. Do you have another offer, at $500? It doesn't matter. What we're doing is we're countering you at 350. Do you want it or not? If not, we're going to the next one. That's how I would handle it. Any comments from you guys if that could be done in your market, and would that not be a good move as a listing agent?
I think it's a great move, Denny, because you're right. There's so many other things that are involved. It could be anywhere from people waiving inspections, waiving appraisals, outside of price. So taking a price and keeping terms and conditions the same as what was originally stipulated takes all that away.
Right. Well, again, and don't worry about the fact that you have to have you don't have to have another offer to counter their higher number. Do you understand that? You don't have to. If they're willing to pay $350 and it's listed at $340, we're going to counter at $350. Do you want it or not? Well, do you have another offer at $349,500? Can't disclose that. However, if you're not going to accept this, we're going to go and counter somebody else. What do you think the buyer's going to do?
Well, if they know they can buy it at a specific price and have all the other offers thrown away, I'd take it.
Well, if they're willing to do it, they're willing to do it. So if you guys have that, I'm just suggesting that's exactly how I'd handle it. Because you put the fear and loss in them. And Matt, can you call me back in the next 20 minutes? Because in 30 minutes, I'm going to call buyer number 2.
Absolutely.
Secondly, if you guys are working multiple buyers in a multiple offer market, you make sure that you have them on speed dial. And if they see you calling, they have to pick up. I don't care what they're doing. I mean, if they're in the middle of a church service or they're basically watching watching a movie or whatever, you know, speed wins in this game. So make sure that they're available, can give you an answer ASAP. So David, you know, you're a listing machine right now. What's going on? You guys have any other comments about that or seeing any of these other escalation situations in your marketplace? Christy, you can pipe in too, because you deal with a lot of multiple offers on your listings. Okay.
I'll pipe in.
Danny,
Go ahead, Christy. Hang on now.
Well, you and I were just talking about this the other day. Because I was the one venting about multiple offers and escalation clauses, and it is extremely time consuming to go do the math on all of those, especially when you have half of them having closing costs, the other half not. Some say net, some don't. Some are capped, some aren't. So it's just it's a living nightmare, I think, for us as the listing agents. But I've done that strategy that you were just talking about, as far as, okay, you see their escalation clause, you see they're willing to go up to 345 or 350. Why not just counter back at that price? You know, that's how high they're willing to go. And then if they fuss about the fact that there wasn't another offer that, you know, escalated it to that price, it doesn't matter. We know the buyer's willing to pay it. So why not counter it? I've done that several times, and it's usually always worked in the seller's favor.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson, you guys, if you've not experienced it before. I mean, they've kind of really, they've shown their hand. Why not just counter at it? Don't feel, and I'm saying this, repeating this in case you didn't hear me the first time, don't feel you need another offer to justify countering at their max. You don't. The bottom line is they want to buy it at 350 or not, and the fear of loss will take over. Al?
yeah, I was just wondering out of curiosity, from some of the others on the call here, how much do you take in consideration the amount of escrow funds being submitted with those offers?
Christy?
Here in Alaska, what I can tell you is our contracts are written extremely buyer friendly. They protect the buyer a lot more than they protect the seller. So there's pretty much an out for anything for their earnest money. So I don't put as much emphasis on the amount. What I'll try to do instead is get them to prepay some of the seller costs, or just pay them in general, or make their earnest money non-refundable after a certain point, so they can't, you know, after their inspection period, so that they can't, you know, back out after that point. But our contracts here are written just super buyer friendly. So that's how I just try to put more skin in the game by having the buyer prepay a lot more in advance. That's kind of my strategy on that.
What are you seeing in Arizona now?
You know, it's just all over the board. You know, a lot of cases right now, because of the situation, seems like there's people willing to put in multiple offers on different properties just because of the way the market is here, and just to see, you know, what sticks. So some of those on a $350,000 house, as an example, it's very common for people only wanting to put down $1,500 to $2,000.
Okay, well, who's got who would like to do a role play, an objection or a situation? Generally, we have something comes in from the crowd. I didn't have anything come in from the crowd this past week. So who's got something they'd like to work on? David? Anyone?
I keep asking the same question, so I'm waiting for somebody else. Maybe they have a better objection.
Well, you're killing us. So good job. What's the role play of the week for you, David?
I have somebody just called me, wants me to meet with him at 5 o'clock. He wants to list his house, and he doesn't have too much equity in it. I think he has a 490 mortgage. We're going to put it up for 600, and he wants me to do better on the commission so that he can cash out more for his next purchase.
Well, that's the old cut your commission script.
Right.
And so did you handle that over the phone, or are you going to handle that when you go see him?
No, when I go see him, I'm going to have to handle it when I go and see him.
Okay, so let's just go through the steps then. You go
Okay.
there to see him, then what's step one?
Well, step one, you mean the listing presentation or?
No, you've gone through the presentation and now his concern is, hey, all right, so I'll be the seller, David. All right,
Okay.
hey, look, I'm tight on money here, David. Help me out here.
Okay, what do you want me to do for you, Danny?
Well, I mean, I read there's agents out there who do it for 4%.
Right. So I understand your concern. So you're saying you have agents that offered you 4%?
Well, I haven't called them yet. I just know that that's what their commission is. I mean, don't make me call them, David.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, Danny, is the commission more important to you or what you net in your pocket?
Okay, now, great question. What I would suggest we insert there is I would go, all right, so are you saying basically if we can agree on a commission, you're ready to move forward with me today?
Okay.
So you all remember, it doesn't do any good to handle the objection if they're not going to do business with you.
Right.
So with whom you ask that, say, yeah, I like what you had to say, yeah.
Okay, so if I can show you that your chances increase by 100%, you know, if you go with the 5% commission rather than 4, would you be open to hear about it?
Okay, good question. Now, we're assuming now, you guys, because we're playing role playing this, we're assuming that he's what? He's isolated it. And he did that with the trial close, with the trial close. So I know we didn't specifically walk through that step. However, when you ask the trial close like that, if we agree on a commission and are ready to move forward today, then he says yes, that kind of isolates it there. So, well, I guess so. So maybe. So what do you mean by that, David?
Okay, so let me explain. You see, there's buyers agents that, you know, they go out with their buyers looking for homes. And, you know, they're looking to make most money as well. And, you know, if you have commissions given out to buyers over there at 3%, and then if we're only going to give out 2%, if you were a realtor taking your buyer out, where would you take your buyer first?
I get that, but isn't inventory short right now? So I think that agents would be happy with 2% versus 0%.
Right. Okay. So you're raising a good point. I get it. Look, do you understand why you have big companies out there that pay top dollars for great negotiators? You know, like Apple, IBM. Why do you think they pay a lot of money for good negotiators?
Probably because they're worth it, right?
Right. So
all right. So what are you negotiating?
right. So, you know, if you're dealing with a realtor who can show you a track record of 60 sales in the past 12 months, and you're looking at the realtor that maybe, you know, is just starting out or has 5 sales in the past year. So, you know, would you prefer the one who has a lot more experience and sold more homes?
Well, I would guess so. And again, I don't know what your client's going to say or how much he's going to push back. So you've got a pretty good angle on me each time. So you're kind of like, you know, a horse. I'm watching Yellowstone. So these horses are cutting cattle.
Right.
And I could keep pushing back on you. Although you are approaching me the right way. He's doing a great job of asking questions. The interesting thing here, and I wanted to see if he was going to do it, is that the negotiation is a very strong tool. However, if the seller in this case did not have another agent in front of them that was at 5 that agreed to lower to 4, where you could lay that card. Many of you guys, particularly in Phoenix and some of the bigger markets, you're finding the return of, or you've had the discounter. So what if they're a discount to begin with? So they're not negotiating it down. They're not reducing their fee. Their model is low fee. So you can't use that card from a negotiation standpoint unless you do something different. So is anybody here? Nice job, David. So that should get you ready for that gentleman today, correct?
Yeah, thanks.
And here's something else. Let me just reverse it. So David, you said you wanted me to help you out because you were tight on money, right?
Right.
Let's assume the situation was reversed. You were actually, you inherited this house. So all these dollars are going to go into your pocket. You've got $600,000, or I forget what you said the price was.
Mhm.
You've got $900,000 worth of equity.
Right.
Would you think it'd be fair if I charged you more then?
Yeah. If I'm not tight on money, that's okay. You could charge me,
All right. So when you guys run into a seller that has a lot of equity and that is willing to pay a higher commission because they're getting a lot of money, would you please write me or text me and let me know when that happens and take me a picture of that person? I have never seen that in my life. However, here's the thing. When some people give you that logic, you have to counter with the reverse logic. Does that make sense? So I understand you're tight. So if you were flush on this, would you pay me 10%? Well, I don't think I would. So anyway, who wants to do something else? Nice job, David. You'll get that listing.
Thank you.
Come on. Got to have something out there. You can't make me do all the work. Well, the preacher's done preaching. I mean, people can kind of like go to the fellowship hall. We're going to have punch and cookies. Nobody else has an objection? It's the shortest class in the world, 45 minutes. Well, let me know what's on your mind. We'll have a class on Thursday, 1 o'clock, and then I'll get some other feedback from the monitoring the bold pages. So we'll have some other things to talk about. And unless there's nothing else, I'll let you go home early.
I got one more thing about the multiple offer thing, just as an aside note, and be interesting to hear some other people that when we're dealing with earnest deposits and people are putting down minimums, what I did in this last deal is I raised that minimum up to a little bit higher amount so that it would be painful for the buyer to back out. They would lose quite a bit of chunk of change if they walked away on the deal, because what we're finding in the buyer's market, that there are some buyers out there who are saying that the inspection is not a contingency on the closing. They get the inspection and they walk away and they're willing to lose the $1,000.
I don't think I think it's a good point, Matt. I don't think in this market I would accept $1,000.
Yeah,
anyway.
we multiplied at least by 5 times the normal.
Yeah, the other thing you can do too on that, say congratulations, Matt. The seller's wants to go with you. However, he's going to counter your offer first. You've got 1,000 in escrow. We went 10 in escrow, and it's refundable up until 5 days or 7 days. And when you get the inspection report, then it's hard.
Yep.
Anything else, you guys? Come on, I got a lot of brain power left.
Yeah, I got one for you.
right,
It
good.
came up to me. So
I got one after that.
okay. So
right.
here, Danny, here in New York, dual agency is legal. So I have a buyer that, is working with me on my listing, and I'm a dual agent, and he's asking me, what's my advantage to work with you? Because you're presenting the seller and you're not really working 100% for me. What's my advantage working with you rather than having, an independent buyer's agent that would be representing only me? That's kind of a tough question for me to handle. So how would you handle that?
Well, the formula is the same. I understand I understand what you're saying. And let me ask you, is that the only thing that's stopping you from working with me, allowing me to help you find a house?
Yeah, I want to make sure that you're representing me and you're working for the seller as well. So how can I be sure that you're being completely honest with me over here?
Well, do you think that basically when the buyer goes, if you get somebody working strictly for you, Do you think that that person, if he got double the commission to help you move into a house to get the deal that you were happy with, if he got paid double, would he be working harder to keep that deal together and make it happen? Or would he not be?
He would. It makes sense that he would.
So if you happen to like one of my listings, and basically then I get I get 2 scoops of ice cream, I get double. Do you think I would be extremely assertive in making sure that it was a win-win transaction for both you guys?
Makes sense what you're saying.
And secondly, have you ever heard of in a real estate a transaction that complications can develop?
Sure.
And when there's more people, the chain of communication is longer. It's kind of like playing telephone in school. Things can kind of even get a little bit more messed up because of the chain of command and miscommunication. Could you see how that could happen?
Yeah, sure. I could see that.
If there's only one person involved in handling the communication, do you think there might be less confusion and a smoother transaction for you?
Yeah, sure.
Because you can communicate with me and the seller can communicate with me. I am the control tower.
Mhm.
I can communicate with both of you guys with the same message and make sure you have a smooth landing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And here's the thing. You don't have to pay $1 more than you want to pay, do you?
No,
And the fact that I happen to be a dual agent is not going to make you pay $1 more than you want to pay, is it?
no, it's not. You're right.
So can you come up with any disadvantages why any disadvantages of working with me as a dual agent?
I can't come up really, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. Now, what if it's the other way around? You have a buyer agent trying to convince the buyer to work with him and not to go to the listing agent.
Well, let me ask you, have you ever been in court, David? All right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Is that the only thing that concerns you?
Yeah, I want, I hear that people, when they go directly to the listing agent.
All right, I got it.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the thing. Now we get a lot of this. And again, follow the formula, isolate. Okay, so basically you're saying you'd work with me. If I can make you comfortable with that, you're willing to work with me. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so are you wanting to step into a transaction in which you have some advantages or you have zero advantages?
No, I want advantages, of course.
Okay, so number one, if you're going to work with that agent that is a listing agent, who do you think that listing agent is going to be naturally, not legally, naturally more loyal to?
The seller,
Yeah, why?
he was hired by the seller to
Right.
get him top dollars.
And they might have a relationship. They might have done past transactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So could you understand that there may not be total objectivity when somebody basically is a friend, family member, good client? Would you go to court with the and you're the plaintiff? Would you take the defendant's attorney and allow them to represent you or not?
No.
Now, here's another reason. Do you think that basically that you'll have objectivity when you're working with the seller's agent?
Well, he's representing both sides. I don't think you can be completely objective over here.
Well, if he's going to get paid double, do you think that might skew some information that might be beneficial to you? Because he doesn't want to risk losing double. Now use the commission against him. It's what you're doing. Now they get paid double.
Right.
So he may want this transaction to get together when it may not be in your best interest. There may be certain things, and I don't want to insinuate he's going to do anything illegal or anything. I'm just saying is that there's no objectivity.
Right.
So we get people that call all the time. In fact, we had this happen yesterday in $1 million listing of ours that they only wanted to let the listing agent show it to them. Well, I'm the listing agent because everything in my team is listed through me, and the other agents are co-agents, and one of my buyer's agents, they didn't understand the team. And here's the thing. So I let them talk to the co-agent, and the co-agent was, said, hey, listen, Brenda, who's our agent, is on our team. And I'll tell you what, you want to see the home tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow at 1 o'clock or whatever. one of us will be there to let you in. They said, fine. And it's going to be Brenda, because Tony is a listing agent and, you know, Brenda's a buyer's agent. And so Brenda's going to show it. What are they going to do? Drive out in the driveway and not go into the house? There's a lot of people in our marketplace think that they have some advantages of working with the listing agent only. And I'll give you one more angle, and this may not apply to David because we don't have dual agency here. We have transactional agency. Is that if you find someone that wants to work with the listing agent only, a good line of questioning is going to be, is that, okay, so obviously they must think there's some advantages in that. They think that the advantage is they'll get a better deal. The same thing that David said. Here's the reality of it. So let me ask you something. By the time the listing agent, you talk to a listing agent, by the time you find out, you see a house you like and you contact the listing agent, and by the time that listing agent gets back to you, so you're making multiple calls to listing agents to see these houses. Let's say they're brand new listings. Listen, how many times have you called an agent? I'm just talking about you guys on the phone on our Zoom call right now. You've called an agent and you're lucky to hear back from them in this lifetime. What's the probability that agent's going to get back to you in time in order for you to get that house? Probably not great, right? Plus you have to have 3 people get back to you and coordinate an appointment. Now, that listing agent has other people that they're working with, and they've got buyers they're working with that are loyal to them. They're first obligated to call the buyers that are loyal to them. Now, you're not going to be loyal to them because you are only working with listing agents. So here's the thing. We're going to have to forget the best houses and we're going to have to look at the leftovers. Because if that's your model, chances are you're not going to buy one of the best houses out there because the listing agent is going to sell it to somebody they already know, not to you, who they don't know. Does that make sense?
That's excellent. Yeah.
And I'm shocked. I mean, sometimes you just can't talk them out of it. And here's the thing: is somebody that you guys that are working with buyers and sellers, let's say. And I mean, how hard do you guys work to get your buyer into a competitive situation? These other people that want to work strictly with a listing agent, they are so far behind and handicapped. Because, I mean, you're Johnny on the spot. You're up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or first thing in the morning, or the buyers are, and watching for inventory, and you're on it. If they're waiting for some sort of listing agent to call them out of the blue, hey, I have a new listing. Don't. You might as well take them to the secondhand, the dent can bin, because that's all they're going to get is the dent cans. So somebody had something else. Was it James? Somebody had one more. Come on, we're on a roll now. It was Kevin. Maybe it's Kevin.
Yeah, it was me.
Kevin, what's up?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Okay, that's enough.
Okay.
So the question on your mind, Kevin.
Okay. The first question, I just want to make sure I have your email correct. CoachDenny@gmail.com.
Coach Danny Grimes at Gmail.
Okay, so I sent you an email yesterday and I didn't put the Grimes behind it, so I will resend it today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question for you, which may not be relevant for the rest of the class. So is it okay to ask it, or should I?
You can ask it, and we'll take it offline if it's not.
Okay, so then I will ask you a question based on getting the listing, and then I'll maybe I can ask the other question offline if that's okay.
Okay.
So the agent, so this prospective client is working with their husband and wife team. The wife's brother wants to list the property. And the wife's brother is just got the real estate license. And they're not sure whether they should use him, so they want to find another agent to co-list it with the wife's brother.
Okay.
to teach them the business.
Got it. So, all right, so you're working with, let me make sure, so you're working with a seller. You said husband and wife team, it confused me. They're not agents, right?
No, excuse me.
All right.
Yes.
And then, and the
Seller.
wife's brother just got a real estate license.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so anyone want to take that really fast? Just give me the first step. First step is what? Come on,
If
class.
we,
I'm
if
sorry.
we can come to some sort of agreement, would you be willing to continue on with the business? Would you be willing to work with me? And could we write something out, or would you be willing to work with me if we can come to some sort of agreement?
Okay, well, the steps, yes, you're getting there a little ahead of the horse, though. I mean, obviously acknowledge it, understand, and then you isolate. Other than that, is there any other reason why you wouldn't work with me, which is, I think, where you were going.
Yes. Okay.
And no. So, all right, so let me ask you, what is the advantage? All right, so you be the seller there, Kevin.
Yeah.
What is the advantage of working with a new agent versus an experienced agent?
There is no advantage of working with a new agent versus an experienced agent, except for the fact that they have maybe a little bit more of eagerness to learn.
I got it. And so notice when I asked the question, I purposely did not say, what's the advantage of working with your brother?
Nice.
Now,
Nice.
that was thoughtful, because I don't want her to think, and I don't want her to think about her brother right now. I want to think about, okay, what's the advantage of using a brand new agent versus an experienced agent like me? So are you saying then that if you're going to pay the same thing, so to speak, will you go to a new stylist or versus one that's experienced if you have to pay the same thing? Or if that's not dangerous enough, if you had to go have surgery, do you want a brand new surgeon or someone who's been doing it for 10 years? And then you can even get a little bit more personal. If your child had to be operated on, do you want the more experienced doctor or the brand new doctor? Now I'm talking about your favorite child too. So
Yeah. So we
gotta
go
put
along.
it in that spot. Go ahead.
No. So excuse me. So we go along with that, and they say, great. So you can co-list it with my brother or my brother-in-law, and he can learn, and you can get a partial listing, a partial commission because of it.
Okay, and so basically, are you wanting? So are you saying that you would work with me if I would mentor him in the process?
Yes, sir.
And you're asking what type of compensation would you want your brother-in-law to get?
Okay. So that question did come up, and I said on a 6% commission, they would like to have the brother-in-law get a 1.5%.
All right, so you want your brother-in-law to get half of the commission?
Yes, sir.
And do none of the work? Is that what you're
Well,
asking?
they would be the gopher.
We don't pay our gophers that much.
They would be doing everything. The brother-in-law would do everything I asked them to do as far as follow up and listing, but he wouldn't know what to do at all. So I would have to tell him everything. So
let me ask you a question. If I were to let him just shadow me in this listing, do you think the experience that he's going to gain, even if he doesn't get paid, it'd be more valuable than 1.5% of the commission?
Oh yeah, very much so.
So why don't you just list with him? And if he wants to get money, why don't you list with him? And then when basically, instead of me paying him half my commission, you can pay him half your equity when he loses that.
Wow.
I probably wouldn't ask that way. I'm just basically turning the tables. Because here's the thing, you know why they don't want the brother-in-law to list it? Because it will cost them money. Now they're not afraid for it to cost us money. So in that case, I tell you what we'll do. We have something we call, and I wouldn't fight with them forever. And if you want the listing and the listing taken, it's the listing sold. How about if I do this? How about if I mentor him and I give him a professional, what we have a professional courtesy fee? And that's 20% or 25% of whatever your referral fee is. That is industry standard. So if I can do that, he's going to learn, he's going to get compensated. It's a win-win-win. How does that sound? Are you ready to move forward with me today?
I like it.
So you can email me. I'll give you a call, Kevin. Give me your number. I'll call you offline. All right, guys. Well, somehow you guys finished strong. It's 10 o'clock. You didn't get out of church early. Haha. And we will see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Denny.
Thanks, Danny.
Bye,
Thank you,
guys.
Danny.
Thanks, Danny.